So good morning and welcome to the last Principal's Message of Term 3. All of our students this week in the middle school and some students in the senior school are out on exit, and this morning I thought we might have a conversation about something I saw online a couple of weeks ago, and I know lots of you might have seen it as well. It's that sign that an American principal put on the door of the entry to the school, the big stop sign that said in effect, if you're coming to drop something off for your child that they've forgotten, stop, turn around and walk back the other way. And because at our school, we encourage students to be problem solvers. Now, I don't know if you saw that online, but it's gone viral with over 1 million hits and a whole range of comments with people talking about how they agree with it and others saying how unfair that they think it is. Now, not for one moment would I be suggesting that we'd be putting stop signs on our doors here at school, but I think it's a really interesting conversation, isn't it, about how we help our children be strong individuals and be problem solvers. And today I'm joined by Daniel Thomas, Head of Primary, Nick Cohen, Head of Middle School, and Mel Canty, who currently is Head of Weeks House, but next year, of course, will be Head of Year 11. Nick, what do you think about the sign? Why do you think we need to help our kids be strong and good problem solvers?
Well, first of all, on balance, I like the sign. I think like all signs, like all rules, there's a grey area, which is actually the really interesting area. But for me, it prompted an immediate thought about a child psychologist talking about the line at which we should assist and the line at which we should allow students to stand on their own feet. And they said, it's really simple. They said, if a child can do it, then let them do it. And I think that's a really nice baseline.
And it's a really basic premise of learning, isn't it? It's how really young children learn is through trial and error, and it's how kids learn to walk, isn't it? Daniel, with little kids in the primary school, what's your view on helping them grow to be, and what does being strong mean to you?
Yeah, it's very much about connecting with their emotions, so working out all those different emotions that they're having and experiencing through play, how things go at the playground, what happens when they can't do something and how they manage that. Being strong is being able to get through those times, but being led by the teacher. That's connection between emotions and teacher personality is so important. So it's really helping them move through those myriad of emotions that they have.
And Mel, we would know the concept of strong as helping our children be resilient, isn't it? That's, I suppose, the term that would be common in our language and also in the media as well. What does being resilient mean to you?
I think it means being able to maybe sometimes cope with disappointment. Not everything's going to turn out the way you want, and we all know that ourselves probably. I can think of lots of examples where that's happened in my life. And maybe being able to have another go and not being devastated by failure, or not being able to even try because you're worried about failing. That's a really big thing in with older.
Because we've done a lot of work in senior school with our Aspire program, haven't we? Based around Carol Dweck's work in terms of growth mindsets. And I think it's interesting also for those watching this principal's message to understand that Mel is our senior psychology teacher too. So brings to that conversation the views of a leader in a school, a parent, but also having a good understanding of that subject area as well. Can you give us a bit of a sense about Carol Dweck's work and how that works in with that sense of strength and resilience?
Yeah, sure. So Carol Dweck was interested in how people, if something happens, how do they respond to whatever has happened to them? And you can respond in a number of ways. It's kind of what I was saying before, that she said you could have what she called a growth mindset, where you say, right, what can I learn from this? Even if I failed and I'm embarrassed or something's happened that I can't bear to think about, it will help me in some way down the track. Or you can have what she called a fixed mindset, which is perhaps not moving on from, not taking kind of lessons from experiences that you've had. So I was thinking about the Campbell sisters in the Olympics. And I watched that race with my Aspire class. And we were expecting a win, so we were excited because, they were going to get gold and silver in the 100 metres. It was going to be fantastic. And of course they got nothing. And straight away after that, they fronted up to the media straight away within, you know, a minute of this devastating kind of loss that must have been devastating because they were favourites. And I think it was Kate who said, my self-worth has never been tied up in winning a gold medal.
Yeah.
And that was her immediate, it was
also,
fantastic.
Did you see the interview with the girl's mother as well, which was fabulous? You know, she stood up and said, I love my kids, they're great human beings, and okay, they didn't win this race, but that doesn't define whether they're successful or not as human beings. I mean, I think the Olympics are certainly great fodder, aren't they, for success and what is success.
I find with the younger kids, they match resilience up with something catastrophic. Like, how do I bounce back from something big, like, you know, I don't know, but something larger than actually experiencing something small in your experience of life, and then being resilient to cope with that. Forgetting your lunch.
Yeah.
You know, how does a prep go? Oh, you know, what do I do about my lunch? And then we guide them through that to help them.
And Nick, I think also, you know, we forget as adults too, we think sometimes that things are not really big issues, but, you know, I do buses every afternoon, and I remember, I have to remind myself at the start of the year, sometimes the greatest stressor for a new Year 7 student is, will I get on the right bus?
Yeah, absolutely. And we see other similar stresses, you know, it's a big campus, I'll get lost, you know, will I make friends? These are really common themes for any new student, but to some extent any student, you know, so it does feel big in their world. But I think our challenge is always to help provide them with a horizon line, a perspective, and to make sure that they don't move towards the catastrophic, but know that they've got a structured support system here, but the ultimate challenge is for them to use and develop their own skills.
And developing that resilience in our children, whether they be in 3-year-old kinder or in Year 12, you know, it's such a shared responsibility, isn't it, with the child, us as staff in the school, but also the families too, and working together to support a child to grow as that triumvirate of students, school and parent. It's such an incredibly important partnership, Mel, isn't it? And when kids get to senior school, you know, you see that all the time, don't you, about how it's important to work together in that team to help grow our children.
Yeah, definitely. And the issues are different at senior school because it's not facing a whole lifetime, you know, another 12 years of school, but it's about to leave school, and what does that mean? And there's a lot of talk about, you know, I go back to the Campbell sisters again, there's a lot of talk about having to get the best ATAR that you can. But getting the best ATAR you can just means giving it a good crack. You know, it doesn't mean having to have a 99.95 ATAR. So the thing that we can often see in senior school is students who are caught up in that rather than what's sort of immediately in front of them.
And I think it's
a
natural search for identity, isn't it? You know, I sometimes say to parents at information evenings, no one recently has asked me the ATAR I got. Because the ATAR is a thing, but we live and we progress in the world because of our hearts, aren't we? And you know, becoming good people with good ethics, good morals, a good understanding of what success means, what success looks like. But I think it's a natural journey, isn't it? As children grow up, and it's something that doesn't stop when you leave school either. It's something that we're still working on as well.
Yeah, I think it's a perennial challenge, and it's perhaps really obvious for us in the school context. But we've all got that challenge of understanding ourselves and finding ways to be very, you know, to find a comfort in the world when we also know that it's imperfect and that it moves up and down, that, you know, there are challenges coming and going all the time, and that we fundamentally want to have this sense of being okay in the world.
Yeah. And I think that's an even greater challenge now, because naturally we want to control the world, but the world is moving so quickly that helping children develop the skills to not feel that they have to control the uncontrollable in some way, but that they have the ability to operate in that changing space and have some sense of shaping of that space. Maybe if we could conclude with what advice might we give to our parents in terms of how can we continue to work closely together. Daniel, if you think about it in the context of younger children, what would you say? Would you put the stop sign up on your door?
No, I wouldn't do that. I think it's a conversation, and I do go back to that quote, it takes the whole village to educate the child and work with that child. So it's encouraging mums and dads to talk with their children. It's encouraging teachers to really connect with their students, and ensuring that resilience is built into the curriculum as well, which it is now, which I find interesting that we actually have resilience in our curriculum.
And I think also, for primary children, it's so important for parents to listen.
Yeah, very much.
Because I think that sometimes as adults we fill the world with too many words. I think that applies to all kids, doesn't it? But listening to your child and letting them have a voice. Nick, what would you say for children starting Year 7, starting high school, and all of those, the Year 8 and Year 9 kids? What advice would you give to parents?
Yeah. Well, I think the central issue here might actually revolve around trust, and it's about helping a child trust themselves and know that they're strong and capable and able. I mean, we see that as staff, and I think oftentimes our trust of a student's capacity is greater than either the child's or the parents. So I think developing that trust of self is really important. I think developing the trust between the child, the school, and the various agents, the staff and the parents is really important. And I think, finally, for parents to trust that their children are remarkable and capable, leave them to it. As much as possible, leave them to it, and be okay with failure, and know that more often than not, they're going to do a wonderful job of resolving the problem.
Yeah, and we know, and kids will say to us, won't they, that they learn more from the things that they don't succeed at than the things that they do succeed
That's
at.
the learning opportunity.
Yeah.
It's the bluntest learning opportunity we ever have.
Mel, our Year 12 students have got really a short time left, haven't they, before they head into their exams and out into the wide world. What advice would you give their parents and those students in senior school too? What would you say?
I think I would say, enjoy the learning that you're doing, because there aren't that many opportunities really to learn so much and to have so many experiences as there will be in the next few years for lots of young people in their 20s. Fantastic time. And I think parents in senior school, we really value any feedback we get from them, because it does drop off naturally, and that's the role of parents and schools, isn't it? That kids start to sort of stand on their own 2 feet a lot more. Still keep telling us things that are important for the kids, but also for the just for the students, I would say just have a blast. It's fantastic. Learn lots, live lots, travel, do lots of things, and enjoy.
Look, I think the world's an amazing place, isn't it? And we want our students to feel comfortable in that world, but also that they can go off and explore. And I think that's really topical now, isn't it? Because as we sit here today, lots of students in the school are not here today. Year 9s are on camp. We've got groups in Darwin. We've got groups overseas. I'm heading to France and Germany at the start of term 4. And our students are in unfamiliar spaces and doing things that sometimes scare them a little bit. And I think that if you don't do anything in life that scares you a little bit, you're not living, are you? So for our students as they're out and exit, I hope that they're exploring spaces that they've never been in. I hope that they're being challenged by those spaces, because it's only through challenge that we grow as people, isn't it? So I hope you've enjoyed having a little bit of a conversation about building, growing, supporting the development of strong young men and women, whether they be in prep or whether they be in Year 12. And of course, I'd love your thoughts on how you think we can continue to work together to build those strong capacities in our students, help them be resilient. hope you all have a lovely term 3 break, and I certainly look forward to seeing you in term 4. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank
thanks,
you.
Nick, and thanks,
you.
Mel. And have a great holiday.